Welcome back to the Grassroots to Greatness podcast, and I'm going to give you a bit of a review of the season so far. We're coming to the end of season 1 of the podcast. I want to thank everyone for their support. We've had great amounts of views and listens. What would really help us if you keep sharing this within your clubs, on your club WhatsApp groups, on your own social media if there's things you like, and start spreading the word so we can help more and more coaches around the country and around the world. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about, like I said, a season review. So I'm going to talk about kind of changes to football, changes that I've seen, and as well as coaching courses, how my coaching's changed, and also what's been reinforced with my coaching, what's my next steps in coaching and my own development. And then we're just going to come on to finish it off with a couple of issues that I've noticed that have been in the game for a long time, probably won't go away anytime soon, but just discussing my thoughts around that. So hopefully you find it useful. And again, thank you for all your support over the season with the podcast. Now, changes coming up in football, and we've just done a podcast recorded on 3v3. So football is going more and more towards small-sided games and more towards individual development, especially grassroots football at 7s going to 3v3, 8s and 9s now being 5v5 and 7, so they won't be playing 11 sides till they're 14. I get a lot of questions on this, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with it, probably because it now doesn't look like the game that they know in terms of 11 a side, but it's really beneficial for players' development. I still think 14s is too young for 11 a side. When I go and watch some under 14s games and I see the size of some of the players on that pitch in terms of their maturation, they can't affect the game. And it's still dominated by the big physical players. And what you'll get as well is you'll get these good technical players, and then they'll play coming against a team of giants who just smash the ball and they can't cope with it. Now, when I'm coaching adults and working with adults, 16, 17, 18, youth players as well and above, it's important that they do learn to deal with that long ball, etc. But if you watch any good level of football, and I'm talking non-league football all out to professional football, they have to be able to deal with that long ball and the physical stuff, but they're all technically good players as well. So people might say, oh, I used to get like lumps that would just smash the ball in a jog. No, everyone playing half decent level now is technically a good football player. They can manipulate the ball, they can use the ball, they can dribble, they can pass. A lot of them can use both feet. So it is vital that they get both sides of it. And the best time to develop that technical stuff is when they're younger. They have to get that foundation in when they're younger. It's harder to develop when they're older. So smaller games and smaller sided versions of games are going to help that. There is a reason why FAs across the world who spend thousands of hours and pounds on research and understanding the psychology of player development and how players develop, as well as not just FAs but top academies around the world who are developing all the best players in the world, they are all moving smaller and smaller and smaller at the younger age groups. 2v2, 3v3, 2v1 with no goalkeepers, loads of different variations of it across the world and in academies, because they understand the reasons that the players need to dribble, they need to pass, they need to make decisions, they need to manipulate the ball. And there's a lot more focusing on dribbling and passing at most elite environments. So that is why it's going that way. What probably needs to happen to help grassroots is people need to educate grassroots more on why it is important. Because a lot of coaches in grassroots will go at, well, in my day we used to do this, or this was happening in my day and I think this is better. But this is not just people going, oh, we'll give it a go. This is based on loads of research, looking at years and years of players that have developed to become the best players in the world and the better players at every level. And these are the things that are being done to help them. So I think it's a good thing moving smaller and smaller. It does obviously then come with a lot of challenges. In the other podcast on 3v3, I've talked about all those challenges on that. But it is going to be better for player development. Obviously now coaching courses keep changing as well. They're getting more expensive, but they're getting more online. So an introduction to coaching football is now all online, your old level 1. UEFA C has now got no in situ visits. And UEFA B, no major changes at the minute, but you would expect them to come in. Now, my opinion on this is they're a lot more accessible. Although they're getting more expensive, it's a lot more accessible for coaches, but that's probably to the detriment of the quality of coaches that we're we're creating as a country. And what the knock-on effect of this will be is probably more safeguarding issues, less coaches committing to their development. I see less coaches moving from level 1 to 3 because of the cost and the time factor, 1 to 2 because of the cost and time factor. And I just think you really miss out on the face-to-face interaction with tutors as well as other coaches to create a network to learn from. So it's going to be interesting what happens in this over the next however many years. Next 4 or 5 years will be quite key to seeing what the effects of this are. And yes, the online stuff is a lot more accessible. A lot more people can access it. It doesn't interrupt their lives as much, but I think still we learn a lot more from being in and around our peers and seeing coaching sessions and watching and picking up little tidbits. And that's going to be an interesting thing for me over the next couple of years. Obviously, I deliver on some of the courses. I still really enjoy delivering on it. I really enjoy working with the coaches. But it's going to be interesting to start to see coaches going on to C licence and B licence that have only done online stuff before. So we'll see how that goes over the next few years, and obviously I can only talk from my personal experience on that. How has my coaching changed? So I just had to write my coaching timeline for Rui, who's our marketing guy that does all the podcasts and everything. He's brilliant. But I had to do my timeline, and 22 years ago I started as an under-7s coach at Ramsgate. And then I've been through semi-pro game, professional academies, setting up my own business, etc., etc. And I've come full circle, and now I'm coaching under-7s again at Ramsgate because my son's playing. When I first done it, I look back now and it's like horrendous. I was PlayStation coached. I didn't rotate positions. I was desperate to win the league. And now I'm completely as opposite as that as I could be. And in 20 years, if I'm coaching 20 or 5 years, I'm coaching my grandkids, I might be completely different again. So the one thing I've gotten from now is we do equal playing time. We rotate positions. So this is what I've found interesting this year. In an idealistic world, everyone rotates positions. I've got players that if I put them up front, end up in defence. If I put in defence, end up front. But I don't mind it. What we have tried to get across to them now is you two start in defence, you two start in midfield, but when you get the ball, you dribble. So actually, it ends up with them all over the place anyway. I'm now just starting to say, right, one player has to think about staying back in case we lose the ball. But I haven't set who that player is. So what I'm training them now is have a look around. If everyone else has gone forward, can you be clever enough to think, I'll just be the protector? And we've used words like that, protector, blocker. So what we're going to do with that then is now go, do you know what? They might forget, but we don't say you're this, you're that. We'll just say to players, where's the danger? Where's the danger? So instead of me telling people, which I used to, I now give little prompts that make them think, because I'm trying to get that to help them with their longer term development. The one thing I'm now doubling down on, and I'm saying this, in my opinion, I've got a stronger opinion on this is right. I have just told my players to get the ball and dribble. Don't kick the ball out of play if you're under pressure. Try and keep it, try and dribble. If you lose it, I will never moan at them. If they lose it, they have to chase back. If they don't do that, I will moan at them. I'll happily say that. But get the ball, try and dribble. And the thing I've probably said the most to players this year is trust yourself. That's probably the biggest thing I say from the side of the pitch is trust yourself, trust yourself, trust yourself. And they have a go. Now, we lost loads of games of football because we tried to dribble out and we lost the ball and the other team scored. No problem with it. At no point did I moan at a player or have a go at a player. And now they've got to the point where they're more confident with trying it. Their dribbling and first touch is getting better. And when we play against teams that just pass or don't really focus on dribbling, you see a huge difference in where our players are now compared to where they are. Winning or losing aside, that doesn't matter. We're probably at a good stage where we're kind of winning half, losing half. But the dribbling part of that has been a massive, massive thing for me. And I'm really now starting to see the benefits. Now, they are allowed to pass. They can pass whenever they want. And recently we've started to do 2v1s, 2v2 and 2v1. So if you look up and you see 2 or 3 players in front of you, that's probably a better time to pass. If you're 1v1 or there's space in front of you, you take players on and you dribble. That's the instructions to the players. They've now started passing the ball really well. I've never really coached it. I've only coached the dribbling, but players will naturally do it. I don't discourage the passing. If they want to pass, they pass it, but I want them to dribble as much as they can. And hopefully this will, in the longer term, massively benefit them when we really focus on passing at probably under 9s, 10s. I'm going to start introducing that a lot more. Now, I've also lost some of my idealistic principles of don't worry about blocking, stopping them coming in, or having an allocated player to do that, or stopping from corners. But it was really affecting us in terms of we were playing against teams who would score a lot of goals because someone would dribble in quickly or they'd take a corner quickly across. And I could see it deflating some of our players sometimes. So I was like, okay, right, what we'll do is we'll put something in there is to do with game management. Or if we have a blocker, so every 10 minutes, right, this player's a blocker for 10 minutes, this player's a blocker for 10 minutes. Their job is, whenever their ball goes out of play, you go 5 yards from the player, try and stop them doing a quick decision. But we changed that to a different player all the time because it helps them with their concentration. Are they switching on transition, etc.? So that's something that I wasn't going to do at the start of the year, but now we have started to do, and we've seen positive impact from that. In terms of my coaching development and what's next for me, I'm not going back into coaching any adults for the next year or two. A challenge I've got next year is I'm going to have one of my boys at under 7s, one of my boys at under 8s. So I've got to try and get around how do I coach both of those teams. I don't want my youngest to play up a year, which a lot of people have suggested it, but there's a couple of reasons why. He's the younger brother. I don't want him to be seen as playing in the older brother's team. I want the younger brother to have his own team and his own social group and his own friends and find his own way. And I want to coach both of them. So I'm going to hope, thankfully, at the current under 7s, we've got 2 great assistants who are really good and buy into everything we do. So I'm just going to have to juggle my time amongst the 2, which I'm going to find quite difficult. But it's one of those things that you have to do. So I mean, if you're juggling both of them, it should be difficult. And also, a big focus for me is I lost my temper the other week with my boy because he wound me up during training. He really badly behaved. And I've always said, and you'll hear me say it on here, in the idealistic world, I'm like, get your assistant to deal with it so it doesn't damage relationships at home, etc., etc. That's the ideal world. But when anyone that's got kids here that he coach, sometimes they can wind you up. And he did that, and I lost my temper and I didn't let the other coach deal with it, and I dealt with it. And then we got home and didn't talk to each other for about 2 hours before we made up. So I'm going to have to get better at dealing with that because he's getting more confident. He's getting a bit older, so he's pushing his boundaries more and more. And then, so I need to get better at managing that. That's a challenge for me. The other challenge for my younger one is he probably is not as serious about football as my eldest, but he's really getting into it now. But he likes to wind. He's a wind-up, my youngster, and he is funny. So I think coaching him could be a different challenge. But he is getting more and more into his football now. And I think from my perspective, he might be slightly different in terms of a bit more laid back. So how do I adapt my coaching approach for that? My other challenge is I want to go and talk to... I've been out of the academy game for a few years now, 5 years. I want to start talking to people that are still involved in the academy game at kind of 7s, 8s, 9s, the youngest age groups, and talk to them about having a bit of a refresher. Do you know what's changed over the last 4 or 5 years? What have you been doing? What's changing in the elite world of coaching that I can then kind of simplify for the grassroots level? So that will be something on this podcast that hopefully next season we're going to do. We're going to get in touch with a load of guests, and if you are a guest that coaches at that level in an academy that wants to come on, great. Get in touch, and if you know any really, really excellent coaches at those age groups, get in touch, because I just want to pick their brains about, well, what is changing that I'm maybe not seeing every week. Now, big issues. 2 big issues, and I've kind of touched on one already. This obsession with passing at the younger age groups. We've played loads of really good teams this year, really good coaches, nice people, brilliant grassroots coaches. But I would say 80% of the teams that we coach focus on passing instead of dribbling. And some of them are excellent at it. They're so good at it. And actually, sometimes I go, well, who am I to say that dribbling's the right way? Because that is my own kind of philosophy on it. But it doesn't seem to even be balanced. It seems to be everyone obsessed with pass. And at the younger age groups, I'm like, we need to do more as a country to state why dribbling is important at that age and ball mastery is important at that age. So that's something I've noticed, and it goes along with this obsession with winning. And I see this at every age group in Grassroots. The balance between development and winning is still not right. It's winning is the main focus for most people. We've got to get away from that at the youngest age groups, and it's about development. Whereas my team, we've got 8 players, so half play, half are off the pitch, half are on at a time. The ones that are off go and play a mini game at the side of the pitch with some little goals, and we always invite the other teams to play. The amount of times that they come back and they'll say, what's the score? It was like they'll say 6-5, and I'm like, the score was like 12-8 or something like that to whatever team. They don't even care about the score, because if they get the opportunity to go over there and play a little mini match, they go and do that. They don't bother about watching. Coaches and parents get really focused on the score. My group, to be fair, have been brilliant all year. My parents have been brilliant, and we've all preferred the games that have been like your 3-3s, your 4-3s and stuff like that, rather than games where we've won 10-0 or lost 10-0. We always prefer the close games because the kids just love it. It's great to watch. And I don't know the solution to this, but it just has to come through education of dribbling is important, development. This is how you develop players at the young age. This is the effect it will have when they get older. The concern then is, well, how do those messages get across when a lot of stuff is online rather than actually face to face? So it's a culture shift we have to make across the whole country. And I've actually been in football for 20 odd years. I've been tutoring for 7 years, been saying it for 7 years, and not much is really changing. So I don't know, but hopefully the stuff that we do here, people will listen to. And again, it's my opinion. You might disagree with my opinion, that's fine. If you disagree with it, add a comment, because we can have a discussion. I'm always open to that, and I'm always open to learning and improving myself. But that's something that for me is a concern that we still need to get past. We will try to do more of that in season 2. And that's where I will talk to, hopefully, coaches who are, again, elite environment, lots of experience that might not always count in grassroots, but we can always simplify it for the grassroots level. So thanks again. It's been a great season. I look forward to seeing you more next season on the podcast. Enjoy the end of your season from your grassroots teams. Enjoy your summer. Enjoy all your tournaments. And we will be back soon.